When we are in love, we forgive our loved ones for the sake of our relationship and their stupidity, but forgiveness is only given once. There will come a time when we have to take a stand against our loved ones for the sake of our relationship and other stupidity, but forgiveness is only given once. There will come a time when we have to take a stand against our loved ones if they do same mistake often. Before we get started with the plot of today, I would like to introduce you to an opportunity for you to get a treasure trove of spicy infidelity stories as a gift from me. To gain access to our disc treasure, you need to subscribe and hit the bell icon to become a subscriber. The frequency of the phone's ringing has been continuously increasing for more than 10 times now. Nevertheless, I was not going to pick it up, as instead of picking it up, I wanted to escape from this whole world by running away from it. There is a lot of pain in life right now. The name of my girlfriend or my ex-wife was Jillian, 28 years old, and the name of me was Johnson's, 32 years old. The truth is, there are times when we met and spent a long duration of time with various people, but we are not able to find peace and satisfaction with them. But then, God sent us somebody who fulfilled our personality by their love and presence. Every change in my life was made exciting by Jillian, who made everything a new adventure. I had worked as a chiropractor for many years and had a lot of satisfied patients from all of my previous patients, one of which was Mrs. Olivia, who was having some issues with her spine. She came to my clinic with her daughter, who was a Julian. At first, I did not have any interactions about her, but the fact of the matter is that she was a pretty girl and I liked her. There was something about her personality that I liked. The way she cared for her mother showed how much she loved her. At that time, I had a girlfriend with whom I had been living for the last 7 months. It is true that people come and go in relationships, and I was with her at one point, but I was not satisfied with her in my heart. Several times, I had a conversation with Jillian about her mother's health problems and how to deal with them. In other words, it was the initiative of our conversation that brought us together. As well as that, I had a frank discussion with Miss Olivia. Sometimes she jokingly talked to me about marrying her daughter. It doesn't bother me at all. It was during those days that I lost my girlfriend. Even though I didn't feel heartbroken, I wasn't okay with the scenario, so I wasn't okay with it. During this time, I was sitting in the clinic, but every appointment I had was cancelled. As soon as Jillian arrived, she informed me about the health of Mrs. Olivia and how she was doing at the moment. During the last few hours, the woman had been experiencing difficulty walking because she had not been able to do it properly. In order to check up on her, I went along with her. As I went there, I discovered that she had another problem with a slip disc. However, I told them to take her to the orthopedic surgeon because I felt that he would be able to treat her better. In that day, Jillian was so worrisome that I chose to stay with them. Due to the fact that my bad mood from my breakup was all distorted by this situation. As soon as she got me coffee in the evening, she thanked me for my help and our friendship began. The background scenario was extremely long, so I apologize for that in extreme. Then after a few days, Miss Olivia recovered, and we started meeting casually again. As a result of this, I began to give her treatment at home. Consequently, I always been able to meet Jillian whenever I had a chance. She was a music teacher at a school, and I really appreciate her musical skills and knowledge. As well as that, I learned a lot of things, especially how to play a guitar, and I learned a lot more. As our friendship developed into love in just a few months, the two of us became inseparable. As soon as we revealed this to Mrs. Olivia, she became very happy and said she was looking forward to our marriage for a very long time. In the course of 2 years of romance, we got married. I loved her so much and she was such a sweetheart to me. As a result, she moved into my house. When her mother lived alone in her house, sometimes she worried about her, so I asked her to bring her here so I could take care of her. However, she always refused to bring her. Anyhow, we went on a short honeymoon trip for a few days. Having a lot of patients to deal with, it was not possible for me to take long vacations due to the fact that I had to take a lot of care. During the 1.5 years of our relationship, everything went smoothly. It was necessary for me to hire a new receptionist for my clinic as my previous one had left the job. During our conversation, I mentioned this issue to Jillian, who said that one of her friends is now jobless as well. My advice to her was to send her to the clinic as soon as possible. As a matter of fact, she did not have experience as a receptionist, but she was good at communicating and I needed a receptionist. As soon as she arrived the next day, I immediately hired her. When I hired her, I did not realize that she would turn out to be a bad thing for me in the long run. After 1 month, a patient came in who I was not able to see her name at the time, but as soon as she walked inside, I recognized her as my ex-girlfriend. As soon as she arrived, I asked her what had happened. She told me that she needed to adjust her joints in order for her to feel better. Unfortunately, this is a very unfortunate situation. She came to the clinic as a patient, so I had to do it for her. As soon as I told her to lay down, I began treating her. After a few minutes, she was feeling better. In the process of doing this, she mentioned that she had some problems with her hip bone. The first time I hesitated was because I had some past memories with her, so I started getting flashbacks of what we used to do. I did the same thing that she said, but I did a little differently by equipments. She attempted to hold my hands after doing treatment, but I told her to keep her limits in her mind and that she should not overdo it. It became a heated argument at that time when she asked me to hook up with her again before her departure, and I said that she had to leave because I was already married. In fact, even my receptionist came into the room to see what was going on as a result of her screaming. I had been upset by her. It was late in the evening when I went home. Jillian was not answering my question properly when I talked to her. I decided to go to her bed after I finished eating dinner as soon as I was done. It was at this point that Jillian started fighting with me, calling me a cheater and asking me how long I've been meeting her for. In my question, I asked, "Who was it with?" "The patient for today is the one she mentioned earlier." "How did you find out about it?" I asked her. In spite of my repeated question, she did not answer me. In my mind, I had an idea that my receptionist had told her everything about me, due to the fact that she wasn't the only person in the clinic at the time. Therefore, it is obvious that she told her all that to her. I said it was clear to me that she was nothing more than a memory. I did not tell her about my past because I felt it would be useless for her to know about it because everything had ended, so I did not see the point in telling her about it. I asked her if she would listen to me, but she did not. She packed her luggage and left for her mother at that time of night. When I tried to stop her, she made a scene in the street, so I decided to let her go without stopping her. My next step was to go get her back the next day, so I went to pick her up. It wasn't her fault that she did not listen to me. I talked to my mother-in-law every step of the way. The lady was on my side and she was just saying, "Let her take some time and she'll talk to you about it." This made me think that it would be a good idea to wait for a while. When I went to the clinic, I told my receptionist that if she wants to continue her job here, she should not ever invade my privacy. The woman apologized for what she had done. On that particular occasion, she just said that she was thinking of her friend. After a few weeks had passed, Jillian called me and said she missed me terribly and wanted to come home to me. After cancelling all the appointments at the clinic, I became very happy and left the clinic very soon after. In order to get her home, I went to the place where she was staying. It was a very happy day for us. The only thing I noticed was that she seemed a bit upset at the time. In order to make her feel special, I arranged a few romantic dinner for her. There was a bit of nervousness about her. During the next 2 or 3 days, it continued to happen. It was then that I decided to talk to her about the real problem that was bothering her. From the look in her eyes, I could tell that she was concealing something, although she wasn't saying anything. In response, she responded that it would take some time for her to process it. Therefore, I told her to take her time and I said okay. The next day, when I returned home, I found her lying and crying on the ground in a bad condition. During that time, she was still saying sorry to me over and over again, not stopping but saying it again and again. It does not seem like she is in control of her. In response to her apology, I asked her what was the reason for it. It was then that she confessed to me that she had cheated on me with someone while she was on her mother's property. What does that mean to you? I asked. Is it something she said when she went to her mother's house after we had a fight? After 2 days, she went to a pub and met a guy with whom she slept after drinking a lot of alcohol. According to her, she was not in control of her emotions at the time. As a result of this confession, I was shaken to my core. My mind was so occupied with what was happening that I could not think about anything else. As a result of a sudden trauma, I was in a state of shock. I asked her, "What have you done, Jillian?" And she replied that she was guilty. Having no control over your behavior as a teenage girl was a very difficult thing with you. My eyes filled with tears as I wiped them away. After leaving the house, I went to a nearby park and sat down there for a while. As a matter of fact, I was just trying to digest the reality of the situation, since I had never ever considered it before. Then, after thinking about it for 2 hours, sitting there just struggling with myself on the other side, I realized that she was loyal to me. That's why she revealed the truth to me, which gave me the confidence to forgive her. But before, I needed to make sure that she had done a few things that would be important to me. When I returned to the house, she was still sitting on the same spot on the ground where I had left her. Even though I tried my best to make an eye contact with her and to maintain eye contact, my heart sank as a result. It was then that I went to another bedroom and looked it up. Throughout the entire night, I was unable to sleep. As I got out of the room in the early morning, I saw her sleeping on the couch. Having left for my clinic, I went straight to my office. It was because I was not ready to face her that I went to a motel to live. I was away from home for 1 week, which resulted in a lot of missed calls and messages from her that I had to deal with since I wasn't home. However, I did not answer her call. At that time, I realized that it was the time for me to talk to her because I felt like I was finally ready to do so. I decided to take the first step to go home once I arrived. She hugged me and with tears in her eyes, she asked me where I was without saying a word. I simply said that she should set the towel on the chair right now, and I sat near her. My question to her was, is that emotional or is it just physical in nature? Would she consider him to be her lover? There was no love between them, she said. She was just emotionally disturbed that night because of the news of my ex-girlfriend, so after drinking she slept with him at that night. In order for me to understand how long she had spent on this, I asked her honestly how long it had taken her. There wasn't an answer from her. She just cried uncontrollably. She pleaded with me to apologize to her, and she said that she loves me so much. There was also a moment when I got emotional, and I forgave her, because the truth was I was also in love with her at the time. Her promise to me was that she would never do that again. Now that I had trusted her, we had moved on from this. I received a phone call a few days later from my mother-in-law telling me that Jillian had been admitted to the hospital. As soon as I got the details, I rushed there as soon as possible. My mother-in-law met me there and told me that she went to visit her at home, and when she arrived, she found her laying on the ground unconscious, and the door to the house was open. Suddenly, I became very worried. As I went to meet the doctor, he informed me that she was expecting a child to be born in the near future. Her body was weak, so she became unconscious. In order to treat her, she needed glucose. I was able to get her home after a bit of treatment. We were very happy to hear such good news. To celebrate this good news at home, I also organized a party for family and friends. We had so much fun, and I was so excited to become a father for the very first time in the near future. In addition to being happy, She also felt something was wrong with her. When we are with our loved ones, we are able to sense it when it happens. It was once that she was in the kitchen one day and I needed to charge my cell phone due to the fact that one of our charger was broken. We both used the same one. Just a few minutes ago, I was going to remove the phone from the charger and plug it into my mobile in order to charge it. On her cell phone, I found a strange notification message that she had received. She was being abused and cursed at by a guy. As a result, I invaded her privacy forcefully at the time. I was able to see the entire conversation. The two of them were fighting with each other. Besides that, I had received some bad messages as well as on her cell phone. Initially, I thought she might have been cheating on me, but when I scrolled further, I found that her chat was very old until the date when she went to her mother's house. There was astonishment in my eyes, and I became doubtful that she was still chatting or meeting with that guy. As soon as she entered the room, she started talking to me. On that particular day, I did not pretend to be anything at all. As soon as I became suspicious about the child, I went to the doctor and told him everything that was going on, and he agreed to let me have one more test to make sure that the baby was mine. Next time I brought her for the checkup, and I had the test done on her. As soon as 3 days had passed, I received the reports stating that the kid was not mine at all. In a matter of seconds, I handed over the reports and kicked her out of my house. I thought perhaps she was still loyal to me after I had forgiven her, but I was wrong. I told her to go to her mother's house. According to me, the divorce papers would arrive in the next few days. It's been 1 day since her mother called me again and again, but I do not give a damn about anything anymore. As far as everyone is concerned, I am done with them.